The world we live in is governed by a set of rules, a set of natural and physical laws that dictate how things operate and interact. As humans, we've always been curious about the workings of the universe, and over time we've managed to uncover some of these laws, allowing us to predict and understand natural phenomena like gravity or electromagnetism. But there are still many things about the universe that we do not understand, and many laws that we haven't uncovered yet. However, with the advancement of science and technology, new discoveries are being made all the time, leading to a deeper understanding of the world around us. In this video, we will explore 7 of the most interesting and least known universal laws. Number 1. The law of correspondence. This law states that everything in the universe mirrors everything else in the universe. It means that the macro world mirrors the micro world, and it applies to both physical and non-physical things. For example, if you look at an atom, which is the smallest unit of matter, you will see that it mirrors the structure of the solar system. The atom has a nucleus at its center, which is surrounded by electrons that orbit around it. The nucleus contains protons and neutrons, which are the building blocks of matter, and the electrons occupy specific energy levels around the nucleus. Now look at the solar system. At the center of the solar system is the sun, which is a huge ball of hot gas. The planets, asteroids and other objects orbit around the sun in specific paths. The sun provides light and heat to the planets, and the planets have their own unique characteristics and properties. So you can see that the structure of the atom mirrors the structure of the solar system. Now let's take it one step further and look at the universe itself. The universe is made up of billions of galaxies, stars, and other celestial objects. Galaxies are grouped into clusters and superclusters, and they're all moving through space in a specific direction. There is also dark matter and dark energy, which make up the majority of the mass and energy in the universe. Just like the solar system, the universe has a center, which is the Big Bang, and everything is moving away from that center. Everything in the universe is interconnected and mirrors everything else in the universe. This means that if we want to understand the universe, we need to start with ourselves and work our way outwards. We are all part of the universe, and we are connected to everything else in the universe. Number 2. The law of vibration. Everything in the universe is vibrating at a specific frequency. This includes atoms, molecules, cells, organs, people, and even galaxies. Everything is made up of tiny particles that are constantly in motion. These particles vibrate at a specific frequency, and this vibration determines the properties of the object. For example, the frequency of vibration of water molecules determines whether water is a solid, liquid, or gas. The frequency of vibration of atoms in a molecule determines the type of bond that holds the atoms together. The frequency of vibration of cells in the body determines whether a person is healthy or sick. Everything is constantly vibrating, and these vibrations create the reality we experience. We can't see or feel most of these vibrations, but they are always present. The law of vibration explains why everything in the universe is constantly changing. Nothing is static or unchanging. Everything is in a state of flux, and these changes are caused by the vibrations of the particles that make up the object. The law of vibration also explains why everything is interconnected. All vibrations are connected, and this means that everything in the universe is connected to everything else. We are all part of the same web of life, and our vibrations affect the vibrations of everything else in the universe. Understanding the law of vibration can help us to create positive change in our lives. By changing our vibrations, we can create positive change in the world around us. Number 3. The law of attraction. This is probably the most well-known law on this list, but it is still not widely understood or used. The law of attraction states that like attracts like. This means that we attract into our lives the things that we think about. If we think about negative things, we will attract negative experiences into our lives. If we think about positive things, we will attract positive experiences into our lives. Our thoughts are like magnets, and they attract the things we are thinking about. The law of attraction is based on the law of vibration. Everything is vibrating at a specific frequency, and like attracts like. If we want to attract positive things into our lives, we need to think positively. We need to focus on the positive things in our lives and be grateful for them. When we do this, we are vibrating at a higher frequency, and this attracts positive things into our lives. The law of attraction is a powerful law, and it can be used to create the life we want. But it requires effort and practice. We need to be aware of our thoughts and focus on the positive. When we do this, we will begin to see positive changes in our lives. Number 4. The law of relativity. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, space and time are relative. This means that the passage of time and the distance between objects are not absolute, but depend on the observer's frame of reference. For example, time passes slower for an object that is moving at a high speed relative to an observer. This means that if you were to travel on a spaceship at a significant fraction of the speed of light, time would pass slower for you than it would for someone who was not moving at high speed. The law of relativity also states that mass and energy are equivalent and can be converted into each other. This is the famous equation E equals mc, where E represents energy, m represents mass, and c represents the speed of light squared. This equation shows that mass can be converted into energy and vice versa. This principle is used in nuclear power plants and weapons, where mass is converted into energy through nuclear fission or fusion reactions. The law of relativity is one of the fundamental laws of the universe, and it has profound implications for our understanding of space, time, mass, and energy. Number 5. The law of entropy. This law states that disorder and randomness always increase in a closed system. In other words, things tend to get messier and more chaotic over time. For example, if you leave a room uncleaned, it will eventually become messy. If you leave a cup of coffee on a table, it will eventually get cold. If you leave a deck of cards in random order, it will stay that way. The law of entropy says that things tend to move from order to disorder. The law of entropy is a fundamental law of nature, and it applies to everything in the universe. It is the reason why we age and why things break down over time. It is also the reason why it is impossible to create perpetual motion. No machine can operate without some loss of order and increase in entropy. The law of entropy is often seen as a limitation, but it is also a source of creativity. Because things are always changing and evolving, we are forced to be creative in how we solve problems and adapt to new situations. The law of entropy is a reminder that nothing lasts forever. Everything is temporary. Number 6. The law of conservation of energy. This law states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred or transformed. In other words, the total amount of energy in the universe is constant. This means that if you burn fuel, the energy in the fuel is not lost, but is transferred to other forms of energy, such as light and heat. The law of conservation of energy is a fundamental law of physics, and it applies to everything in the universe. It is the reason why perpetual motion is impossible. If you try to create a machine that moves forever without any external input of energy, you are violating the law of conservation of energy. The law of conservation of energy has many practical applications. It is used in engineering to design machines and systems that are efficient. It is also used in everyday life to make decisions about energy use. The law of conservation of energy is a reminder that we should not waste energy. Every time we use energy, we are taking it from the earth. We should use energy wisely and responsibly. Number 7. The law of polarity. Everything in the universe is composed of both positive and negative aspects. This means that everything has two poles, a positive pole and a negative pole. The law of polarity states that opposites are really identical, but differ in degree. They are different poles of the same thing. For example, hot and cold are two poles of the same thing. Temperature, they are opposites, but they are also the same thing. Light and darkness are two poles of the same thing. Illumination, they are opposites, but they are also the same thing. The law of polarity is a fundamental law of the universe, and it applies to everything. Even our thoughts and emotions have two poles. We can choose which pole we want to focus on, but ultimately, they are the same thing. The law of polarity reminds us that we should not judge things as being good or bad, positive or negative. Everything has both poles, and we should appreciate both of them. These are just a few of the many universal laws that govern our existence. From the smallest atom to the largest galaxy, everything in the universe is subject to these laws. While we may not be able to change the laws of physics, we can learn to live in harmony with them. By understanding and respecting these laws, we can create a better life for ourselves and the planet. So what are your thoughts on these universal laws? Have you heard of them before? Do you think they're interesting or helpful? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching.